Hey everybody, welcome to your horoscopes for this week. These are the horoscopes for the week ending November 5th, 2016. We've only got 2 more months left of this year, which is absolutely amazing to even think about because it seems like it just started yesterday. And of course, this is Halloween week. So I'm here suited and booted and ready to celebrate the holiday. If you are celebrating the holiday, have fun and make sure, of course, as always, that you do it safely because we want you to come back and watch your horoscopes again next week. But we're going to go ahead and get to the horoscopes to find out what's going on this week. And we're going to start as we always do with Aries. Now, Uranus is in a position at the beginning of the week and trine with Saturn and Venus, which is a really helpful aspect, really helping you to see just how much support that you really have. And a lot of the times when things get difficult, it may seem a little difficult to really notice that support system that you do have, but trust me, it's there, and throughout the week it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. Now about midweek, Uranus is going to move into opposition with Jupiter, and of course he's already squared with Pluto, which means a T-square aspect, which is a rather difficult aspect, unfortunately. The key to getting through this particular aspect, which unfortunately is going to be around for a little bit as these planets don't move very quickly. Jupiter is definitely set to be in this position for a while in opposition with Uranus. And the difficulty in this aspect for you this week is, of course, the difficulties that always happen when you're focused on your goals. There's always those challenges and those things that unfortunately just don't come easy for you, and that means that they're challenging. Now, in order to help yourself get through this aspect, of course, you want to be aware of a couple of things. The biggest thing being how you think about the situation. Now, if you're looking at the situation in a negative way and allowing your frustration to take over, then of course it's going to look bigger. The challenge is going to look bigger than it actually is. You want to mind how you're thinking and reacting to the situations, because the more you react and think about them in a negative way, of course, the more challenging or the bigger the challenge is going to be. Remember, you have all of this support with Venus and Saturn trined with Uranus, and that aspect is not going to end anytime this week. So remember your support system. Remember that you don't have to do everything by yourself. You've got people to help you out. And of course, you know how to choose the right people for the job. So you guys have a great week with that. Taurus, if you have been spending a lot of time outside of the house or focused on things that are outside of the house, this week is a perfect opportunity to focus some time in your home. It's all about that this week for you guys. Not just making the home the place that you want it to be, but really spending some relaxation time at home. For most Tauruses, that place is, of course, their lair where they like to go and they like to relax and they like to have quiet time. But at the same time, some Tauruses, of course, live in an environment where there's other people. Actually, most of us live in those environments where there's other people. And when you have a situation like that, it's really important to create your own space somewhere within that domain. A nice little quiet space just for you, for meditation, for relaxation, or just quiet time, just time to sit down and clear your mind and not think about the next thing that you need to do or the million things that you need to do, but giving your brain a rest. It's always important to give yourself this brain rest time because, of course, knowing all earth signs are very productive and they're always focused on the next thing that needs to be done, that needs to be done, that needs to be done. And after a while, all of those things become very overwhelming in your mind. So this week, it's time for you to focus on creating that space inside of your home. If you have all the house to yourself to create this quiet space, great. But if you don't, do yourself a favor and make this space. And no, your space is not just the bathroom so that you can get away with the kids and shut the door for a minute. Create this space, meaning create a bubble bath for yourself and put some candles in that bathroom and really just spoil yourself. Because the truth is, if you don't, you're just going to be tired. And how are you going to deal with all of those things that you need to do if your energy is that low? So you guys have a great week with that. Gemini, family is important, and that is what it's all about for you guys this week. It's taking that time to spend some time with those people that are closest to you, the most important people. Really enjoying this time. Not just doing it because you have to do it, but taking some time to enjoy these very important people in your life. Now, a lot of Geminis have a tendency to be very busy all the time. Their minds are always focused on all of these different things that they want to do, which is a great thing because that's what makes you Geminis as successful as you are. But taking that time to spend some time with the people that you love is something that you need to do as well. And oftentimes, one of those things that is often overlooked in a very busy schedule. Now, let's talk about your schedule for a minute because, of course, I know it's really busy, and being able to put that time into your schedule is really, really important. In some cases, a lot of air element signs who have a tendency to be always thinking of the next thing that they have to do, they have to schedule family time into their schedules, believe it or not, because a blank spot in a schedule means I can make an appointment, I can meet with a client, I can do whatever it is that I'm doing, and unfortunately you're taking away from not only your people but yourself at the same time. This week is really important for you to put that time into your schedule. It's relaxing for you. You're going to be uplifted by the energy of hanging out with these people. And of course, it has a very positive effect on you too, giving you a chance to stop focusing on all the things that you need to do and just focus on the moment, what it is that you're doing right now and the people that you're sharing that time with. So this week, enjoy your people time, because the truth is, it doesn't matter how old they are, who they are, what position they are in your life. No relationship lasts forever in the same way. And while you have these people, you want to take the time to enjoy them. So you guys have a really great week with that. Cancer, this week and the next few weeks, and I'm sure the past few weeks, are all about building up your relationships and really all the aspects that that entails. Now, a lot of people don't realize just how much is involved in building up the right relationships, but it does take work. And we're not just talking about friendships, I'm not just talking about love relationships, I'm talking about business relationships, client relationships, all kinds of different relationships. This week is a chance to really take some time to focus on those relationships. Now, when it comes to the positive, uplifting relationships in your life, of course, you want to make the most of those. Every chance that you can possibly get, you want to make the most of those, which is great. But at the same time, every wonderful relationship, no matter how great it is, has its little quirks and its little things. And when two people come together, their little quirks get on each other's nerves. So this week is a chance for you to take a look at those, understand them, and of course, be open to communicating about those things. The truth is, the more time you spend with people, it doesn't matter how much you love them, they get on your nerves. It's just the way that life is. But being able to openly say, you know what, I really don't like it when you do that. If you could explain why you have to do it, or maybe not do it anymore. Or my favorite way of dealing with a relationship difficulty like that is by saying, you know, it does bother me when you do this, and in order to work on this, I'm willing to look at and give up something that I do that you may not like me doing very much. Opening it up to that opportunity always is a good thing, because you're allowing the person to know that this thing is bothering you, number one, instead of keeping it inside until you're going to blow up. And two, you're also opening up the door for them to do the same with you, because let's face it, we do things that annoy other people too. It's not just everybody else annoying us. We do annoying things too. So being open to that exchange of energy and that exchange of ideas is very helpful, because you're not just saying you have a problem, you're saying this bothers me, and if I'm doing something that bothers you, I would like to open up that communication so that we can talk about it in a non-confrontational, non-aggressive, open, communicative way, which of course is what usually works in situations like that. So this week, while you're enjoying your company and while you're enjoying these relationships, take the time to say something about things that bother you. The truth is, you never know. These people may not realize that what they're doing is bothering you, and they think that they're doing it to help you out, or they think something different. And if you don't appreciate it, well, then they're just going to think that you don't appreciate it because you didn't open up and say, hey, that bothers me, please don't do it anymore. So you guys have a great week with that. Leo, this week kicks off the beginning of the week really focused on specific goals that you have had on your mind and been planning out and working on now for the last couple of weeks. But towards the end of the week, we start to move into a position of rest and relaxation, which is something that you definitely need to do. Now, when you have been so focused on specific goals and specific things that you want to do, that's a really good thing. I'm all for motivation, and I'm all for, if you have a dream, doing whatever it takes to make that dream come true. But one of the big things that it does take to do that is, of course, rest time and time for you. Now, I just saw something on Facebook. It was a perfect way of explaining this, and it showed an empty cup. And it said, if your cup is empty, how do you expect to help anybody? And that is exactly what happens. You put so much time and energy, and I know you Leo's got tons of energy. You put all that energy into these specific things, and of course your responsibilities and the things that you already have to do, that when it comes down to it, there is no time for you, and you're not replenishing. You're not refilling that cup. And who wants to be walking around with an empty cup? This week, as we come towards the end of the week, you're going to find that a lot of things you've already accomplished. And so it gives you an opportunity to take a break, not add more stuff to your plate. That is something that you want to avoid, at least for the rest of the week, and maybe even a little bit into next week too. Take the opportunity, take the time. These opportunities do not come up very often, so you want to snag them while you have them. So you guys have a great and restful week with that. Virgo, this week it's time for you to take a rest from your money, if that makes any sense at all. Actually, it's all about taking a rest from your money worries and your money concerns. Now, if you're a typical Virgo, security is very important to you. And of course, money is this world and society's biggest means of security. Having that money in the bank makes you feel good because you know you have the money in there in case of emergencies or in case you want to spend it on something for you or for somebody around you. Well, this week, as we know, we all go through these times where sometimes that we have plenty and sometimes we have very little. It's time to give yourself a break from those money worries. Whether you are saving up for something specific, whether you're just trying to live paycheck by paycheck and get through, or whether or not you're actually looking for something that's going to bring in more income. The Virgo's Achilles heel is always worry, every single time. They worry about how the money is coming in. They worry about how long the money is going to stretch. They worry about whether or not they're going to save up the money on time. And most of the time, these Virgos are actively working on what it is that they're trying to do while they're worrying about it also. What you don't realize is you're putting twice the amount of energy into generating this income than you need to. And of course, it's going to bring your energy level down. Well, this week, take a break from worrying about money. I know it sounds crazy, but as you feel yourself worrying and overthinking how this is going to happen, tell your brain to stop. I don't want to worry about it right now. I don't want to think about it. I just want to focus on something else, something that is going to relax me, something that I enjoy doing, anything but thinking about money. The truth is, as you are doing this, you are going to notice that you start worrying less and less and less about the money. And you also start to notice that the things that you want to do just kind of sort of happen because you haven't taken that time and slowed it down by worrying about the situation to death. So this week, do yourself a favor. Take a vacation from the worry and see just how awesome it is when you don't worry about everything, especially your money. So you guys have a great week with that. Libra, at the beginning of the week, Jupiter is right there and set, ready to make all of your goals and dreams grow and expand, because that is what Jupiter is all about. He's all about growth and expansion and keeping things growing and expanding at a fairly rapid rate. But towards the middle of the week, he is going to move into opposition with Uranus, which means T-square, unfortunately, with Pluto also. And this is kind of a big pain in the rear aspect, unfortunately, because it's going to slow down that growth process just a little bit in order to teach you some very valuable lessons on how you are trying to build your dreams. Now, when it comes down to it, this opposition this week is really trying to outline for you where you tend to be your own worst enemy. And everybody does this, but Libras do have a tendency to do this, not more than anybody else, but a lot of the time, when it comes to how you're thinking about the situation. Now, worry is part of that negative thinking pattern, but I'm more specifically talking about negative thinking patterns such as aggressive thought processes when things are not going your way. I'm also talking about belittling yourself in your brain. It's not happening quick enough because I'm not deserving of it. Being able to identify these specific negative thought processes will help you identify where you are actually getting in the way of what it is that you want to do. So for instance, if you have an opportunity presented to you and your automatic reaction is that's going to work for, insert reason here, well then that's negative thought process because you haven't even bothered looking into it to find out if it's going to work. And that, of course, is slowing down your process and growth. So this week, when those negative thoughts come up, it's time to identify them. It's time to say, oop, that's a negative thought, bink, and kick it out of there. The truth is, you never know just how much you are getting in your own way. And it doesn't make any sense to get in your own way when there's a whole world out there ready to do it for you. So you guys, have a great week with that. Scorpio, the Sun and Mercury are still in your sign this week. Oh, and by the way, happy birthday to all the Scorpios born this week. Can't leave that out now, can we? Because we are officially well underway into Scorpio time. Now, the Sun and Mercury are in a beautiful place in grand sextile position with Pluto, the Moon towards the end of the week, and also Neptune. And this beautiful, wonderful aspect that is really helping you understand where you made mistakes in the past in order to, that stopped you from being able to move forward in your career is actually very helpful. Now, yes, memories of past failures, so to speak, aren't always necessarily very pleasant, but at the same time, there's a very valuable lesson to be learned in that experience. And it's not necessarily that you did anything wrong. It's not necessarily that you can point the finger at other people and say that it was their fault either. But looking back in those situations, you start to see little clues. And the clues that you're specifically looking for are clues like your own mindset and how that affected your success, or your own belief in yourself and how that affected your success. Maybe even how you dealt with a specific situation and how that ultimately affected your success. And then, of course, being Scorpios, I'm sure some trust issues are going to come up with other people as well and make things a little bit difficult. But these planets are all coming together to show you these clues so that as you're standing in the same position now, in a different career or even in the same career for that matter, it doesn't matter either way. As you're standing in the same position now, you can identify those little clues and eliminate them. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to come up with some new stuff, because everybody does, but that's part of the learning process. But eliminating or identifying these little clues so that you can eliminate that practice within yourself now helps you to avoid making the same mistakes that you made before. And that is really important information. So this week, it is a great week for you guys because it's all about your career. It's about what you're going to do with your career. It's about growth and expansion in your career. And it's also about, really about, remembering the lessons that the past have taught you so that you can move forward now, because that is what the past is for. So you guys have a great week with that. Sagittarius. Well, Saturn and Venus are in your sign in a wonderful trined position with Uranus this week. This is a very positive aspect that's really going to help you by providing the support that you need to really help you understand your own mindset and how it's working. Now, for a lot of people, changing their mindset is a really difficult thing. In fact, I can think of one Sagittarian off the top of my head right now who is a wonderful guy, but he prides himself on his negative mindset sometimes and how he doesn't want to change that. It's part of his personality, and it is part of what I love about him, absolutely. But at the same time, anybody can change their mindset. Now, when you get stuck in this is my mindset and I'm not going to change it routine, it makes it very difficult for you to grow and expand and learn from the past. And Saturn square with Neptune is still very much there, focused on these past issues. But you have mounds and mounds and mounds of love and support with Venus and Saturn being in your sign, understanding that it's your responsibility to embrace this love and support rather than trying to push it away or make it less than what it is. You want to celebrate what you have, not look at it as it could be better or I don't deserve what it is that I'm getting. And this, of course, is what this trine is all about. It's reminding you to celebrate every single supportive person that you have in your life. And those that you feel should be supportive, it's okay if they're not. The truth is they may not understand where you're coming from in terms of what it is that you're doing. And they may not just be supportive in the way that you think that they should be supportive. That's the big thing right there. You have your ideas on how they should support you, and they have their ideas on how they should support you. And it's just not seeming to click there. But the good news is, we're not talking about just one person's support. We're talking about mass amounts of support. And if you can't get the support specifically that you want from one person, it doesn't mean that there aren't 10 people out there waiting to support you on that. So this week, pay attention, course, to those thoughts. Make sure that those thoughts are more positive than negative. And when you do have that negative mindset creep up, tell your brain to stop. You don't have to think like that, and you're not stuck like that. You don't have to be stuck like that. The truth is, you can do anything you want, and you can change anything you want. You guys have the ruling planet of Jupiter, and Jupiter is all about growth and expansion. This is your life, is about growing and expanding and making more and bigger things. That's the Sagittarian way. Why stop yourself because one person isn't seeing things the way that you are? It just doesn't make sense to do that when you think about that. So this week, enjoy that support. Embrace that support. Take a look at the support around you. Don't focus on the support that you don't have, but take a look at the support around you. See how much you really do have there at your fingertips. And once you identify that, then go and grab the bull by the horns and do whatever it is that you want to do. Because the truth is, you Sagittarians, nobody's got the energy to put in this stuff quite like you do. So you guys, have a great week with that. Capricorn, Mars spends his last full week in your sign this week, getting ready to head on out. But of course, he is going to be a part of a T-square that is beginning towards the middle of this week. And this T-square, of course, is going to be with Pluto and the moon towards the end of the week. And of course, both of these planets are squared with Uranus and Jupiter on either side. So you guys are at the top point of that lovely T-square. Congratulations to you. I bet you're thrilled about that. Now, T-square aspects are not easy aspects. They can be very difficult aspects because they're affecting three major parts of your life. And specifically where Capricorn is focused right now is a lot of old stuff that's coming up around you. You may be dealing with situations where it may not be the same people in those situations, but you're dealing with situations that have hurt you in the past that seem to be happening again, even in different situations than the original situation. And this can be a little bit of a pain in the rear. Now, of course, there's a couple of things that you want to look at. First of all, it's going to affect how your growth is when it comes to any plans or ideas that you have. And of course, it's going to be rooted in your mind and how you think. Now, those thoughts are very valuable, and Capricorns are a little known to be a little pessimistic at times, and that pessimism is really what's going to get in your way. Now, that being said, as the grand sextile comes together this week between Pluto in your sign, Neptune, Venus, and Saturn, this is a beautiful thing because even though it's still pointing in the same direction, it's reminding you of what these situations are trying to teach you. If the situation keeps coming up, it means you haven't dealt with the initial emotional situation. Maybe not your first priority every day or something that you want to do, but it is something that everybody has to do. Because there isn't a living person on this planet that doesn't have some sort of emotional situation that's buried deep inside of them. So this situation, if it keeps coming up, it's telling you it's time to deal with this situation. Or the root of the situation, I should say, and your feelings about it. And the other fantastic thing is, of course, what is this situation teaching you? Even though, as human beings, we have a tendency to want to avoid these situations because they're unpleasant, it's the most unpleasant situations that have the biggest lessons and the biggest growth opportunities for us. So being able to identify what it is that you can learn from and how you can grow from these situations is huge, because as you do, you're growing above the situation. You're letting go of those original feelings and not letting them sit in there and stew inside of you anymore. And even better than that, you're growing into your next step. And your next step could be even more powerful than you are right now. And that, of course, is always a good thing. So this week, pay attention to those things. When those old things come up, yes, of course, nobody wants to deal with it. But maybe now is the time to just deal with it. Like the Capricorn does. Nose to the grind, get her done, and move on with your life. You guys have a great week with that. Aquarius, do you feel lucky just being you? Well, this week, it's time to find out. As the part of fortune comes into your sign Tuesday through Thursday, bringing you luck just being you. And that's always a wonderful thing. Now, when you are given these gifts or receiving this quote-unquote luck from the universe just because you are who you are, that's an amazing thing. And for most Aquarians, that is a big deal because Aquarians are unique and they enjoy being unique. I'm an Aquarian, and I'm always the one out there saying that if you see what the crowd is doing, I'm doing the opposite of the crowd. If the crowd starts doing what I'm doing, I'm going to go do something else. I don't want to be part of that crowd, and most Aquarians don't want to be part of that crowd. They're leaders. They're the ones that are leading the crowd, or they're setting the trend and not necessarily following the trend. This week, understanding how lucky you are to be that way is really important because, trust me, I understand, being an Aquarian, how difficult it is to naturally want to be separated from everybody else. It is actually very difficult at times, and there were certain times in my life, mostly when I was younger, where I did wish I was more like everybody else because I always felt outside of the circle. But this week is a chance to really, really, really understand just how wonderful it is that you are outside of that circle, that you are who you are, the absolutely crazy, eccentric, head in the clouds, disorganized, brilliant person that you really are. Because the truth is, the world needs more people like you, and you should be out there celebrating every aspect of yourself, regardless of whether or not people around you think it's okay or not. You're daring to be your unique self, and there is nothing more powerful than that. So you guys have a great week with that. And finally, Pisces. Neptune's square with Saturn is still there. I was kind of hoping it would be gone by now, but it's not, unfortunately. It is still there. It's probably going to be there for a little while because Neptune is still retrograde and hasn't turned direct quite yet, although it's coming. I do believe before the end of the year it'll be moving direct again. Now, that square has been a serious problem for a while, especially with these two specific planets, because one is very masculine and one is very feminine. One is very responsible and one is very deep. And so you've got your logic and you've got your emotion, and they don't seem to be resonating with each other. Specifically with Neptune's placement being on things of the past, you're probably dealing with a lot of issues that you've already dealt with in the past, and that is really, really difficult. Bring that in with that square with Saturn, and it becomes your responsibility, your fault, you're the reason why you're dealing with these problems again. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. And this week, as Neptune also moves up to line up into a grand sextile with Pluto and the Sun and Mercury, this is a beautiful opportunity for you guys to really understand just how much those past experiences, good or bad, have a huge effect on what you're doing right now, specifically when it comes to your career goals and how you communicate those career goals. Now, being able to communicate them in a clear way is always good. But you're a Pisces. There's got to be some sort of emotion in that communication, right? But you do want to check your emotion. If your emotion is so strong that you're actually putting people off, then that communication isn't really going to go well for you. You want a little bit of a balance, enough emotion so that people understand where you're coming from and how you feel about it, but not so much emotion that is overwhelming for the person that you're communicating with. Of course, you want to communicate that this is what you want, but you don't want to communicate it in such a way that it puts people off too. So again, you're creating that balance. This is one of the biggest lessons you have to learn from these past situations, because as you take how you communicated them in the past, you can change that now in order to have a different result now. So this week, remember, pay attention to those past difficulties so that you can communicate those in a different way now and get better results. You guys have a great week with that. Thanks so much for watching the horoscopes this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Don't forget, 13 card tarot for 2017. There's only 2 more months left, and then you can't get that reading anymore. It ends on December 31st at midnight Pacific time. So make sure you get those orders in for those readings before then. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. Again, I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great week. I'll see you guys next week.